dark mud wash away out of your feet?
You can go into a lot of these processes metaphysically, but they will not work. What you will need to do is go into them and experientially. In other words, you are going to have to feel every emotion that's mud inside of you as it passes through you. And that is the process of washing it out of you. So every time you try to do it a different way, you will find in the end that you're just fooling yourself in the end, right? And so this is why a lot of people have been doing these things for years and years and years, and then when I talk to them for 5 minutes, they get angry with me. Well, why is the anger in them? Because all this process that they thought they had, that they thought worked, didn't actually work, because their understanding of it was that they didn't have to feel it or experience it. So the truth is that you're going to have to experience every emotion that's mud in you. Right? Oh, how many of you are a bit depressed about that one? Right? But can you see that it's a part of you, it's become a part of you, it's all locked up in you. How else is it going to come out? Now, you can tap your way out of it, or you can do all sorts of other techniques way out of it, but you're not going to get out of it until you experience it. Then you will get out of it. Does that make sense? Yeah.
AJ, on your human level,
yep,
and your soul level, at times I imagine might be in conflict in relation to your own emotional growth and your own emotional blocks or mud or things that you're dealing with through your life.
Yep.
When these sessions that are happening in connection to where you're sitting within that, how do you ever go away and wonder whether anything that's come to you from it has triggered anything that you might be struggling with?
The groups trigger me constantly.
Right.
Because you've got 100 or 200 people projecting all sorts of emotions at you.
So how do you manage that? Like what do you do on a practical level?
I don't manage it.
Okay.
I just go into it. Like so at the moment I can feel like there's probably a third of you are sort of on the lines of, yeah, I reckon he might be Jesus. 3/4, the other 2/3 or just a bit under 2/3 are, I don't know about this, like there's a lot of those kind of emotions coming. And later you'll find there'll be lots of emotions coming from you that I'll identify as we go through. And what I'm trying to do every single time is just allow myself to feel what's going on all the time.
So that doesn't impact on any projection back from you in any way from an emotional block. You're able to clear it as you're going through it to understand?
No, it may trigger me now and then I have to go home and maybe spend a whole week dealing with something as a result. That's happened many times.
Yeah.
Like I've had groups where, one half of the audience has just gotten up and walked out.
Okay.
And of course that has an effect on them, right? Because if I've got emotions of unworthiness or whatever within me, they get triggered straight away. And then I've had where people have got up and projected lots of anger at me, and I go home confused because I'm saying, I just did a free session, and they're angry with me. Like, how can you be angry with someone who just give you something for free? So I'd go home and process that emotion, and feel all those emotions as they're coming up. So the key thing is to allow yourself to feel everything you're feeling at the time you're feeling it. That's the most powerful thing. Yeah. But not always easy. Fraser?
I was just wondering if Cornelius could share some of his experience since starting on the Divine Love path and processing your emotions.
Yeah, I'm no expert at it, but where do you want to start?
Just from where you were beforehand and what state you were in, and then as you've been, processing your emotions, what's been.
Do you mean identity-wise or just in general?
Yeah, just in general, what you've sort of noticed and.
All through my life, just generally just done that sort of thing anyway. Really, just felt things and just gone with them. I find now I'm starting to block down a bit more to stuff that I didn't understand. I'm starting to understand. I don't want to see it now. All first century stuff, just life's been quite good and everything hasn't been a hell of a lot, but there's a lot of stuff now I don't really want to go near, but I have to.
And do you find it hard to actually, in the beginning, to kind of get in touch with your emotions, or it was pretty easy for you in the beginning?
I don't think I thought about it much, I suppose, back then. I find it was just easy flowing more so. Sometimes I went like suppressed them big time. Actually needed some help at some stage, like had to go and see a lady, just had a complete meltdown. That helped a lot, sort of like I was actually so shut down, didn't even know what feeling was. I didn't even know what words, like to describe what I couldn't even describe those feelings. I didn't even have, it was numb. So I had to relearn how to feel again. So it was kind of difficult, but it helped a lot. And just such a shut down shell of, just also I felt like a shell. There's just no life inside it. And had to learn that way, I suppose, like asking for some help, which I don't do often enough. And even relationships, just learning things through relationships, like feedback from the girlfriend I might have been with at the time. It was just not a person who would help hold a girl's hand, and tried it and just kept doing it and just trying that, seeing how that felt, and noticed how I just felt uncomfortable with love sort of at first, I suppose, and even what other ones, there's just lots of things. But it still comes sort of, it wasn't natural, then it kind of blocked away, then it's sort of coming back a little bit more again. I don't know if that really answers your question though.
Is it getting easier though as you...
I still have trouble with the mind stuff, like you can feel yourself blocking it down, shutting it down. I had trouble the other week, just during the week, the stuff came up and I kind of pushed it right down because really stuff that was quite really hard. And then started sitting outside, just got to happen. And doing some writing. I just started doing some writing with the left hand, just writing like questions to myself, like how do I feel about soulmate love, and there's a lot of anger come with that, and just kept writing stuff down with the left hand, asking questions and answering with the right hand. And oftentimes I'd answer and know that I wasn't truthful, and answer with left hand to correct myself. And ask me what's the truth of your answer. And that got down to just a big one of feeling just completely unloved. And then felt anger come up with that, and Nadja's got a boxing bag there, so I went and just walked over to it and slipped the gloves on, just sat down and go and punch it. It's just, every time I've gone and done that, released, I've always hurt myself. I could feel it coming up, I feel like I've got to punch it now, I've got to punch it now, I could feel anger coming up. I know that's the moment I have to get it, when it's really strong. Otherwise I knew it was just going to slide away, and it did slide away. I punched him Aussie, he bit my foot, so I punched him. I was disappointed that didn't happen, so I went inside and just had some music. I got an MP3 player, it just sort of seemed to trigger me, so just put that, and that worked. That just kept on trying different things that were going to help to trigger it. Just trying to stay in it as much as you can when it comes up, because I try and walk away from it a lot of times. It's just the fear or the pain of what's going to come up, but just judging it by doing that anyway, rather than just trying to let it flow. It's like a relearning process when you're a kid. You just go and go nuts, and it didn't matter where, right in front of everybody in the shopping centre. You didn't care. But now we just judge ourselves every time something comes up, and we just shut it down straight away. And I felt myself doing that lately, and I've been trying to do the opposite now. As soon as it's coming up, just try and go with it now. Just trying to catch yourself in that moment. But when something balls up, and you go, ooh, shut that down. You're just trying to go, no, let it go. You're just trying to get more into the flow of just feeling naturally, but really learning how to do it when you're a kid.
A lot better off than us, with that
I feel it's like double the load.
So that you kind of moved through all this stuff in the spiritual realm, so aren't you just better off than us?
I'm still a soul, I'm still a person like you with injuries too, and upon returning, you can understand that process a bit easier. I don't know if you do understand that way. Yeah, it's just like all the memories, there's all memories within your soul up at that stage, but reincarnating, you still have the memories, but there's no energy attached because you've worked through all that. Like no emotion attached to them, no negative stuff. So the thing's just a memory. But as soon as you incarnate into your parents' body or mum's body, it's also got dad's feelings as well there. Anything they've got is just going to be like energise whatever memory is there. Like there's heaps of loss of love for me in the first century. And so mum, after talking to her, I couldn't understand lots of stuff. I just didn't understand it because I didn't know anything about this. I worked through lots of stuff and nothing was coming up. And but I even asked Mum about that, about loss of love, all of the feelings I was having, and I come to the truth about how I felt about my mother now. Not about it, but how I felt as a kid. I just didn't feel loved. I was cared for beautifully and stuff, and looked after and everything like that. And even the memories I have about mum and dad's relationship, dad'd come home as soon as he comes through the door and just give mum a big hug thing, give her a kiss, and we'd imitate him and stuff like that. And I still didn't, I can't ever remember being hugged. I can't ever remember being like kind of nurtured. And I rang mum up and told her about that, just how I was feeling, and she was quite honest, and she's good actually. She didn't bark back and say, oh, you were completely loved your whole life or anything. She's actually honest and said that's probably the same for her when she was a kid, and it's just carried through, just in a generation where she said, oh, you'd be seen and not heard. And so she's kind of shut down. And I just realised the other day when she'd actually started doing some stuff in herself, and it's probably that time I had a meltdown. I just realised, I wonder if it's because she was doing that at that time too, it actually triggered stuff for me. Because the most loving thing a parent can do for their child is work on themselves. It's the most loving thing you could ever do.
So in the spiritual realm, you actually cleared the stuff in the first century.
Yeah.
Now you're seeing it through the lens of the parents and you've got to work through things.
Yeah, there's another one. There's this that therapy stuff I was doing. It's kept on coming up. These feelings have been like all the symptoms of being sexually abused, and I'm thinking, I can remember most of my childhood and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, I don't get it, and I had to keep revisiting it because it kept on like coming up. And I was attracting all the girlfriends that had been sexually abused too. I thought, what's going on there? And I thought maybe it's something I don't want to entertain, so I'd entertain it again, like trying to go back into it. And your breathing helps, eh? Just bring stuff up. And then yeah, I just kept on pushing it away, so I'm not understanding it. When all this stuff come up about, you know, reincarnation thing, which I didn't want to take on at all, starting to come up some truth that happened in the first century as a kid. I was asking, I rang up mum and dad even, like, and asked them if I had been sexually abused, because I had no idea what was going on and stuff. And I say, as far as they know, I'm kind of shocked by the question.
But if you can imagine like 2,000 years of experiences, all then stuffed through a heap of emotions from your parents, rather than no experiences. So like in your first incarnation, what you're doing is you incarnate, and at that moment you just absorb the emotional experiences of your parents that they have unresolved, and your environment. But if you've got 2,000 years of pre that history, what's happening is that all of those experiences all get filtered through that those emotions of your parents. So then, do you think we're going to have more or less to do with than yourself? Yeah.
It only comes up when it allows. I've tried both things, just trying denying everything, denying identity and stuff like that, and it's made things more uncomfortable. I feel probably more further away from myself, like less in touch. And then just trying the other way, trying to see what happens when I just try and let that stuff happen and just come on. It's the same for yourselves, just if you just let it happen and see what happens. And it's really true, and you start feeling that, the hurt and stuff, and once you go through it, it's the only time I really feel alive, to tell you the truth. So I feel real, I feel like me, you know, I'm starting to feel everything. So that's what your soul is really, it's just everything, it's all your feelings and everything, so I guess that's finding yourself.
Express